Peace came to Ash Fork with tables and sunlight and a white knot on a bell rope, and with quiet hands sliding a rifle case to a roof before anyone looked up. At noon, one shot will try to break the treaty. The town answers in daylight. Soldiers laid a cloth. The preacher said a Bible. The captain smoothed the treaty page. The town watched, afraid to breathe wrong. The bell rope hung by the schoolhouse door, its knot bright as chalk. It said, "Tell the truth where all can hear." Clara Vale stood near the rope. Her palms remembered the pull from 2 mornings ago. She had wrung the town awake and dragged fear into daylight. Enemies had faced each other and become witnesses. Now the fort called for formal words. Peace was on paper. But paper bends when men press on it. Down a back stair, boots climbed. A gloved hand eased a case onto shingles. Someone peered over a ledge at the square and pulled back. No one below saw it. Smoke from cook fires made a veil. In the schoolhouse window, the telegraph wire shivered, spliced bright where Clara had mended it. The line could speak again, but whispers moved faster. Noconi lay on a pallet by a wagon, healing slowly, thin, stubborn, alive. His father, War Chief Tiva, sat his horse near him, bow unstrung, hands empty, eyes steady. He had come to talk. 6 riders waited apart, still. Quartermaster Hale made notes at a distance, lips tight like twine. He wore the fort's coat, but his eyes counted coins. Lieutenant Pike stood beside the captain, straight as a ladder. He kept glancing at the ranchers. Ash Fork looked different under a calm sun. Barrels back at walls. Wagons off the north end. Women had faces again instead of masks of ash. Clara checked the bell key on its ribbon. She touched the white knot and thought of the children copying words on slates. Witness, not. She wished the day would hold to those two, then set wishing aside. The captain raised his hand. "Parley at noon tomorrow," he said. Terms read and signed in sight of town. Until then, no rifles in the square. Tiva nodded. "We agree." Then Pike stepped forward. "Before the talk," he said, "we require a guarantee." He looked at Tiva and at the ranchers behind the soldiers. "Your riders will surrender their bows at the gate and remain unarmed in the yard. And to ensure good faith," he paused, "the boy will stay in our care, a temporary custody." The square tightened. Noconi's hand found his blanket edge. Tiva's back straightened. The preacher's breath made a small sound. "Hostage," Clara said. Pike didn't flinch. "A guarantee," he said. "If you mean peace, this proves it," Tiva answered without raising his voice. "Our word stands without chains," he said. "If you hold my son to buy calm, you will buy anger instead." Hale folded his arms and looked pleased. Fear likes an easy lock. Clara looked from Pike to the rope to Noconi. She pictured dusk, a rifle case on shingles, a man waiting. If a shot rang out tomorrow, someone would blame the riders, blame the bows, blame the blood easiest to point at. A hostage would be a matchbox in a dry wind. The captain rubbed his brow. "Lieutenant," he said, "we need a bridge, not a wall." Pike's voice stayed polite. "Sir, towns have burned on my watch. Without a hard pledge, we invite disaster." He turned to Tiva. "Surrender the bows. Leave the boy with us until the ink is dry. Do that and we sit." Tiva looked at his son. Noconi met his eyes and lifted 3 fingers. Clara stepped forward so both lines could see her. "If we begin by taking a boy," she said, "we begin by breaking what we claim to build." "Daylight does not need chains," Hale sniffed. "Daylight needs locks," he said. A murmur ran through the town. Some remembered broken arrows tied white. Others remembered burned fences. The square was a scale with 2 small stones and 1 heavy thumb. The captain lowered his hand. "Noon tomorrow," he said. "We reconvene to sign, or not." Pike added, "If these conditions are not met by noon, patrols resume with prejudice." Tiva swung down and stood by the pallet. He touched Noconi's shoulder. "We will come," he said to the captain. "We will come unpainted with hands open. But we do not leave our sons behind walls." Clara watched Hale walk toward the sheds. He moved fast when men watched him and slow when they did not. She felt the pull in her palms again. She had wrung a town awake once. Tomorrow might need more than ringing. It might need proof laid open where no one could deny it. Peace had a voice. So did fear. Both were already speaking. The town tried to return to chores, but the air had corners. Men hammered fence rails and watched the fort road. Women mended and listened for hoofbeats. Children were told to read indoors. The white knot on the bell rope hung like a quiet eye. Clara set the schoolroom in order, though class would be short. She poured water, wiped dust from slates, and laid the small feather on the reader like a bookmark for truth. She could still feel the pull of the rope in her hands. 2 mornings ago, the town became a witness. Today, the fort would decide if that memory mattered. Nokoni slept in the wagon under a shade tarp. His breath was steady but shallow. The surgeon checked the bandage and nodded. War Chief Tiva stood near with his bow unstrung, speaking low to his son, a father who came for peace and would not leave a boy behind walls. Pike posted a notice on the pump. Clara read the letters as he pressed the tack. Parley, noon, fort yard, terms to be met. His jaw worked on the word terms. Quartermaster Hale hovered at his elbow, tidy as a ledger, eyes counting favor. The preacher joined Clara by the pump. "We have a day to keep courage awake," he said. "We also have men who like locks," Clara answered, and tipped her chin toward Hale. They walked Main Street, naming small tasks that calm hands. Sweep stoops, carry water, bake loaves for riders and soldiers both. Peace was work made in public. At the Mercantile, a rancher stepped into their path. "If the boy stays," he said, "maybe my herd stays too." "Your herd stays because your neighbors do," Clara said. "We stand or fall together." He glanced at the notice and moved on. By mid-morning, Clara carried a basket to the fort with the preacher. The guard waved them through. Inside the yard, the tables were set. Ink, pens, a rolled map of grazing lines, and water holes. The captain spoke with a surveyor. Pike stood stiff at the edge like a man guarding a gate in his own mind. Hale crossed the yard with a ledger under his arm. As he passed the sheds, a door swung and clapped. In that slice, Clara saw a tool bench, an oil can, spare shoes, and a pair of iron nippers with U.S. stamped on the joint. The cut in Ash Fork's wire had been clean as teeth like those. She did not point. She filed it in her head. They left the basket at the cook tent, loaves, beans, and a tin of tea. The cook, a woman with burned scars, squeezed Clara's hand. "No one eats fear," she said. Back on Main Street, children drifted to the schoolhouse. Clara let them in for an hour. She did not speak of hostages or terms. She spoke of knots and promises. She showed the white tie and told them they were learning a town's memory. Jonas carved witness into cedar and smiled. From the window, she saw Tiva help Nokoni sit. The boy lifted 3 fingers and then rested. A small thing but public. People saw and softened. Near noon, a shadow crossed the schoolhouse floor that did not match a cloud. Clara stepped outside and looked up. On a roof 2 buildings down, someone had dragged a crate to the eave and left a canvas folded beside it. The boards wore a smear of the color of powder soot. No man stood there now. She walked to the preacher and spoke low. "There is a place for a rifle on the north roof." He nodded once. "We will keep eyes there," he said. They asked 2 townsmen who had stood against Darrow to watch roof lines from opposite alleys. Clara went to the bell and tested the rope. The knot felt firm. She tied a second thin strip higher, a simple sign between her and the preacher. If she pulled twice at noon, the townsfolk near the fort gate would move for Hale's wagon first. They would not wait for shouts. They would walk to the proof. The captain crossed to her at the bell. "Mrs. Vale," he said, softer than yesterday, "there is pressure I must answer." "There is daylight you must honor," she replied. "If you hold that boy for calm, you will lose more than calm." He looked at the white knot, then at his boots. "I will read the terms again before we begin." "It will help," she said. "But truth will still need witnesses." Afternoon thinned into a pale patience. Wagons rolled. The wire on the pole hummed like a bee finding its way home. Clara breathed and told her heart to keep a steady count. Peace lived in what people did when they watched, for now. Clara and the preacher walked the long side of the fort yard where shadow met sun. She kept her eyes soft and her ears open. Peace was arranged like dishes on a table, but someone had set a knife under the cloth. Near the corrals, Quartermaster Hale barked at a mule skinner. The mule cart held 2 tarped crates and a smaller chest near the seat. Hale's tone was tidy, the way a man speaks when he thinks order makes him innocent. Clara paused by a water barrel and fixed a loose hoop. While she worked, she watched. The chest had a split corner. Inside, a flash, rope, burlap, and the dull shine of iron teeth. Nippers again. The preacher followed her sight without turning his head. "You saw?" he asked. "I saw," she said. A young private rolled a wheel to the smithy. The rim showed a faint stamp like a horseshoe with a star. Clara remembered the same mark on the rustler tack found at Darrow's forge. Army stock. They passed the pay office. Through the window, ledgers lay open. Hale's clerk chewed a pencil. In the margin of one book, someone had scraped at a number until the paper went thin. Clara read down the column. One entry, wagon, ammunition, drill. A faint strike ran through it. No receipt note followed. "Short," she murmured. "Short where?" the preacher said. "In his sums?" she answered. "And in his conscience." They stepped back before the clerk turned. At the schoolhouse, 2 townsfolk waited. Eli Hart, who had spoken against Darrow, and May Howell, the boarding house keeper. Clara told them what she had seen. The nippers, the chest, the ledger mark, the roof smear. "We do not accuse in secret," she said. "At noon, we show what is true in the open. If I pull the bell rope twice, I go to the quartermaster's cart. Lift the tarp. Say nothing until you can hold the proof up high." Eli nodded. "I can do that." May's jaw set. "I'll bring 2 of my girls," she said. "We have carried heavier loads than men's pride." Clara smiled, then sobered. No steal. No shouting. Daylight only. They went to set their places. Under the shade, Noconi opened his eyes. Color was back in his face. He watched the street like a student learning a map. "You hear well?" Clara said. "I hear when men hide," he answered. His hand found the talking stick token. "Words should stand where the sun can see them. Tomorrow they will," she said. "Today we keep them alive." He nodded and took 2 careful sips. "My father will not leave me," he said. "But he will not break the peace." War Chief Tiva met Clara's look. "There will be pressure," she said. "If you walk unarmed into their yard, some will call you weak." "Peace is heavy," Tiva said. "It needs strong backs." Lillian Pike crossed from the office with a paper. "Mrs. Vale," he said, "you have influence. Tell them to yield the boughs and leave the boy with us for 1 day. It will save trouble." "Or buy it," Clara said. "Hostages make bad ink." His jaw tightened. "You ring bells. I count bodies, and fear buys more," she said. "It comes due with interest." He glanced toward the roofs, then away. "Stay clear at noon," he said. "This is army business." "At noon," she said. "This is human business." He left without answering. Hale watched him go, a smile moving at the corners of his mouth. The smile died when he saw Clara watching. The afternoon pressed down. The town moved more slowly, like people carrying water they did not want to spill. Children stacked kindling. Women folded bread. Men checked axles on wagons that would carry no one anywhere today. Clara wrote a sentence on the school slate and set it in the window. "Truth in daylight, or not at all." As the sun slipped, 2 riders came in from the east, dust trailing. They led a string of horses with a burned brand over a cavalry mark. "Eli met them at the well?" one rider said. "Found these in the drawer. Wanted them hidden." Eli pointed them to the captain. At dusk, Clara and the preacher walked past the fort sheds again. The chest sat deeper under the tarp. Someone had tried to hide it better and had only made it easier to see. The canvas smelled of oil and powder. "Tomorrow," the preacher said, "you will pull twice." "If I must," she said. She touched the bell key. "If the first truth spoken is chains, the second must be light." They stood and watched the yard settle. Somewhere a latch clicked. Clara felt the shape of morning like a word on the tongue, almost spoken, not yet sound. Night lowered over Ash Fork like a hand on a lamp. People tried to rest, but no one slept deeply. Doors clicked. Dogs shifted under porches. Wind touched the white knot on the bell rope. Clara walked between the schoolhouse and the fort, letting her feet settle her mind. She checked roof lines without staring. The north roof still showed a long, dark smear and a crate near the eave. No sentry watched it. At the sheds, Quartermaster Hale spoke softly to two dusty men. He slipped one envelope and tapped the mule cart canvas twice. When he saw Clara at the pump, he smiled and asked after the children. She answered in school words and saved the rest for daylight. The preacher met her at the bell. "You walked the yard?" "I did. The roof is ready. Hale's wagon is ready. His books are scratched like a lie that will not lie flat. And the town? They want peace. They want to sleep. They do not want to stand between them." "We will lend them our backs," he said. They called Eli Hart and May Howell to the schoolroom. On a slate, Clara drew a simple plan. 2 pulls on the bell, then hands on Hale's cart. No shouts, no blows. Lift tarp, lift chest, lift lies into the sun. "If anyone tries to stop you," she said, "ask them to read brands out loud. Ask them to count crate numbers. Keep asking until mouths tire." May's smile was thin and brave. "Questions are heavier than fists." "Bring 2 steady girls," Clara said. "Let women open the cart. The room will listen faster," Eli rubbed his jaw. "And if the roof fires first?" "Do not chase shadows," she said. "Hold the cart. The shooter wants panic. We will not pay." They agreed and left by different alleys. Clara went to Noconi. The surgeon had given Willow bark and a calm word. War Chief Tiva sat close, hands quiet. "You should rest," she said. "The night is short," Tiva answered. Noconi opened his eyes. "I heard mules," he whispered. "A chest moved." "We saw it," Clara said. She touched the bell key. "If anyone rides over the words tomorrow, we pull them back into the open." He smiled. 3 breaths. "Save them," she said. Near midnight, stars showed like nailheads on a dark plank. A soft clank came from the east ladder. A lean man climbed and slid over the roof edge. Clara did not call. Daylight would be louder. Back in the schoolroom, she lit a small lamp and wrote a line to steady her voice for noon. "We stand together and we read together." She placed it with a rubbing of the Spur brand, a copy of Hale's scratched ledger entry, and a chalk sketch of the yard. Proof likes company. She raised the white strip 2 hands higher and tied a square knot tight. Above it, she added a thin ribbon, hidden unless the rope moved. 2 pulls, she whispered. "Walk, lift, hold," the preacher returned with a rolled hymn. "I will read the terms again before the captain speaks. If Pike adds chains, the town will hear the difference." "Light does not argue," Clara said. "It reveals." "You sound like a sermon," he said. "Tomorrow I will settle for 1 honest sentence." They shared the quiet like bread. Wind carried oil and cold iron from the sheds. Far off, coyotes stitched the dark with short calls. Clara thought of the first morning, of broken arrows tied white, of children writing witness and not. Peace is made by small hands doing the same right thing until even worry gets tired. She lay on a bench with her shawl and slept in halves. Wire clicks, bell notes, a roof that could not hide its shadow. When she woke, the world was ash blue. The knot looked like a word that would not be unsaid. She washed at the pump and laughed once at the cold. She set water to boil and cut bread. She added a second line to her scrap. Truth in daylight, or not at all. Before dawn, she walked the yard again. The crate still sat on the north roof, a dark tooth. Hale's mule cart waited under its tarp. In the pay office window, a lamp showed a clerk asleep over a column, pencil on his lip like a lie too tired to finish. Clara put her palm on the rope and felt only rope. That was enough. The choice was made. The plan was simple. The town had a way to walk. When the first rim of light touched the bell mouth, she looked toward the fort gate and breathed once, twice, 3 times. "At noon," she told the quiet street, "all of us see. Together, then." Morning thinned into pale gold that did not warm much. The town moved like people walking on ice. Fort Nolan's yard clinked as soldiers set benches and checked pens. Clara brewed tea on the school stove and carried cups to the preacher and to May and Eli. She said little. Plans grow quiet before they bloom. Quartermaster Hale hitched his mule cart and fussed with straps. He kept looking left, not at the wheels, but toward the north roof where a canvas lay folded. 2 men in trail dust came from the east gate. They did not go to the captain. They went to Hale. He gave each a few coins and nodded toward the feed sheds. Clara stood by the pump and rolled a loose hoop on its barrel until it seated. She watched without staring. The trailmen brought out a small crate from behind hay bales and slid it under the cart tarp. One man wiped his fingers on a red scarf. Another adjusted a satchel with a spur strap hanging loose. The strap showed a new rowel, forged to match. The preacher came to her side. "You saw?" he asked. "I saw a story writing itself before noon," she said. "We will edit in daylight." Lieutenant Pike walked the fence line with a list. He doubled the gate guard and posted 2 men at the roof ladder. He spoke of unknown threats and of hard pledges. He did not remove the words about bows and custody from his notice. War Chief Tiva visited the schoolhouse. He set his unstrung bow on the desk as if to show its shape could rest. "We will walk in without weapons," he said, "but we carry our faces." "Bring your riders with open hands," Clara said. "Bring your patience. We will bring proof." Nokoni sipped water and traced 3 short lines on his blanket. "Breath, breath, breath," he whispered. His eyes were clear. He watched light crawl across the floorboards until it touched the bell rope. By late morning, the town gathered near the fort yard. Women carried bread in jars. Men cleaned their hats. Children stood behind their legs and peered around. The white knot on the bell rope showed bright and still. Hale circled his cart again. He spoke to Pike, then to the clerk, then back to his mules, always returning to the tarp. The clerk brought a ledger. Hale signed with a neat hand and shut the book fast. Clara saw the line he did not want others to read. Ammunition, drill wagon, issued. No receipt below. She moved to May and Eli. "At the second pull, go," she said. "Lift the tarp. Show the top crate first, then the chest. Hold them high." May nodded and squeezed Clara's fingers. "We will keep our voices low," she said. "Low like a prayer, high like a bell." Eli checked the alley and returned. "Roof is quiet," he said. "But footprints near the ladder, fresh." Clara carried 2 cups to the gate. She offered one to Pike. "For your throat," she said. "You will need a clear voice." He took the cup and hesitated. "You should know," he said. "I will begin by repeating the terms." Bows surrendered. The boy held on until the papers were signed. "I will not be moved by sentiment. Be moved by daylight," she said. "It keeps better." "Peace without guard is a story for children," Pike said. "Children remember stories longer than soldiers," Clara answered. "Choose a good one." He gave back the empty cup and walked away. The captain met Clara near the bell. "I cannot undo all pressures," he said. "But I will not sign a lie." "Then read slowly," she said. "Read like you want the words to live." A trumpet sounded from the fort yard. People drifted to the fence. The sun stood straight. Tiva and his riders came to the gate with reins looped on their arms. No one wore paint. They carried no bows. Nokoni sat on a chair by the wagon with the surgeon close by. He lifted 3 fingers to Clara. She lifted 3 back. Clara set her hands on the bell rope. The knot felt like a small heart under her palm. She glanced at the north roof, at the folded canvas, at the crate that had not moved. She glanced at Hale's cart, at the sag in the tarp where weight had shifted. She breathed and let the air go. Pike stepped to the table with the treaty page. The captain stood at his shoulder. The preacher opened his Bible. The town went quiet the way a pond goes still before a stone hits. Noon was a line drawn across Main Street. Everyone stood on it. Pike lifted his chin. "We begin," he said. "On terms that hold?" Pike held the paper at chest height. His voice was clear and hard. "Before we sign," he said, "all riders surrender their bows at the gate, and the boy remains in army care until the ink dries." He did not look at Nokoni. He looked past him. The captain kept his eyes on the page. He did not repeat the demand. He read the treaty lines as written: safe passage, water rights, returned horses, shared watch on the wire. The words sounded steady, but the yard did not. Tiva stepped 1 pace forward. "We bring no bows," he said. He held up empty hands. "We bring our word. We will not leave our son behind your fence." A murmur ran along the fence. Some nodded. Some didn't. Pike lifted a palm for silence. Then we have no deal, he said. At noon we ride. Clara felt the rope under her fingers. She did not pull. Truth needed to be seen, not shouted. She glanced at the north roof. A hat brim slid and vanished. The folded canvas had moved an inch. May stood by the gate, eyes on the mule cart. Eli planted his boots by the rear wheel and touched the tarp once, ready but calm. The preacher waited with his Bible open. Quartermaster Hale spoke with a soft smile. Lieutenant, be practical. Hold the boy for an hour only. It will cool hot heads. His hand rested on the cart seat. Clara took one step so her voice would carry. No hostages, she said. We learned that lesson in daylight. She turned to Pike. You were there? You saw how a town chooses when it can see. Pike kept his jaw set. I saw fear, he said. Fear needs a harness. Fear needs light, Clara said. The captain's eyes moved from Clara to Pike to the crowd. Let us proceed, he said. We will hear both sides, then sign or not sign. He nodded to the preacher, who read the key lines again, slow and full. Children pressed closer. Noconi watched the roof through half-closed eyes. Hale leaned to his driver and whispered. The driver edged the cart closer to the table, wheel squeaking. The tarp dipped over the small chest. Eli felt the sag and looked to Clara. She gave no sign. Not yet. Tiva spoke when the reading ended. We have dead on both sides, he said. We want no more. We brought broken arrows. We bring no weapons now. Sign without chains, and we will hunt the thieves with you. Pike cut in. Words break, he said. Locks hold. Locks hide thieves, too, Clara answered. A gust fluttered the white knot on the bell rope. Eyes went there and back. The knot calmed them. It said, if things turn, there is a way to stand. Pike listened to a low word from the captain. He lifted his hand toward the roofline, then let it fall. Proceed, he said. The fort cook brought a tray of cups. She set one by Tiva, one by Pike, one by Clara. Wet your mouths, she said. Dry mouths say hard things. Clara thanked her and sipped tin-tasting tea. A shadow passed behind the chimney. The crate near the eave made a thin scrape. May took a half step, then stopped. Eli's fingers curled and relaxed. The preacher's thumb marked his place. A rancher called, If the boy stays, my herd stays. Another answered, And whose boy will they take next? The noise swelled, then fell as the captain raised his palm. Pike squared his shoulders. This is final, he said. Surrender the bows you claim not to carry, and give us the boy for safekeeping. Do that, and we sign. Refuse, and we ride. Choose. Silence pressed the yard like a lid. Clara heard the sing of the wire and the slow breath of horses. She felt the bell ropes braid under her skin. Tiva looked at his son, then at Clara. He set his feet as if to carry weight. We will not give a chain the first word, he said. A bird lifted from the roof and startled a child into a small laugh. It eased the tension by a thread. Hale's mouth tightened. Clara touched the knot with 2 fingers. Not yet. The yard needed one more thing to see. She found the captain's eyes and held them. Sir, she said, read the terms once more. All of them. Then ask if a hostage belongs in those lines. He hesitated, then nodded. He took the page back from Pike and began again, slower than before, like a man counting what he was willing to keep. The roof waited. The cart waited. The town held its breath for the last calm moment before noon truly arrived. Noon arrived like a blade. The captain finished the last line and asked, Do these words mention a hostage? Before anyone answered, a hat brim slid above the north roof. A finger touched a trigger. Noconi's eyes snapped open. Roof, he breathed. Clara did not look up. She watched Tiva. He saw the flicker of fear cross the captain's face. A puff of powder curled. The shot cracked. The roof spat smoke. Tiva lunged and knocked Pike aside. The ball cut Tiva's shoulder and marked him with red. Pike hit the table. The treaty page skidded under a boot. The yard panicked. Hands went to belts. Clara yanked the bell rope twice. The white knot flashed. The sound that followed was not the bell. It was feet. Eli and May moved without words. 2 girls from the boarding house fell beside them. They walked straight to Hale's mule cart. Lift, May said. They threw back the tarp. On top sat a crate with a cavalry stamp. Beneath it, the split-lid chest gaped. Inside lay iron nippers with US on the joint, a bundle of red scarves, 2 forged spur rowels with the diamond and bar mark, and a ledger page pinned. Eli raised the nippers. "These cut our wire," he said. May held up the scarves. "Masks for lies." Her voice stayed low, but it carried. The girls lifted the rowels. "Pears to match the ash," one said. The preacher pulled the pinned page and read in the same strong tone used for the treaty. "Wagon, ammunition, drill, issued." He turned the page. "No receipt, no return," Hale jerked. "Those are quartermaster stores. Put them back." "Then account for them," the preacher said, passing the page to the captain. At the same time, 3 men and the fort cook swarmed the north ladder. The shooter tried to scramble back. The cook reached the eave first and knocked the rifle to the yard. A private cleared it, showing the fort mark on the stock. The shooter froze. Pike stood, breath ragged, hand on his shoulder where Tiva had shoved him. He looked at Tiva's blood, at the fallen rifle, at the nippers in Eli's hands. "Hold your fire!" he shouted. Clara pressed a cloth to Tiva's graze. "Stand with me," she whispered. "Let them see," Tiva nodded. He kept his hands empty and his back straight. Blood slowed. Hale tried to back the cart. The preacher set his Bible on the wheel. "The wheel will not turn until the truth does." The captain walked to the cart. He lifted each item to the table, nippers, scarves, forged rowels, the ledger page, then pried open the top crate. Inside lay cartridges in neat rows, brass-like coins. The stencil matched the missing line in the book. He looked at Hale. "Explain." Hale's smile went thin. "Security," he said. "Contingency stores. I moved them to protect the fort. I hired riders to keep order. Necessary for whom?" Clara asked. "For all of us," Hale snapped, cutting his eyes to Pike. Pike did not move to him. He looked at Tiva instead. "You took a shot meant for me," Tiva answered with one word. "Peace." Pike set both hands on the table as if steadying a bridge. "Strike the hostage demand," he said. "Strike the disarming at the gate. We will sign without chains." Hale barked a laugh that broke. "You fool! They will ride through you." Clara lifted the talking stick token so all could see. "Who holds this speaks true," she said. "We are finished with whispers." The captain faced the crowd. "This parley stands," he said. "No hostages, no forced surrenders. We form a joint patrol to seize the rustler camp. We share the water corridor and protect the telegraph. We recover army stores." He looked at Hale. "And we arrest our own when they steal." 2 soldiers stepped toward Hale. He backed up a pace. The cook blocked his way with her ladle. Hale lifted his hands because there was nowhere else to put them. The captain nodded to Pike. "Read the terms as amended." Pike took a breath like a man setting down a sack. He read, and this time his voice had no iron filings in it. Clara let the cloth rest on Tiva's shoulder and faced the town. "Witness," she said. "All of you." She touched the bell rope once, not to pull, only to feel the knot. "Truth is here." Nokoni lifted 3 fingers and smiled. The shooter sagged as 2 privates cuffed him. He began to talk fast, pointing at Hale and at the cart. The captain dipped the pen. The crowd leaned in. Signatures would come next. But first the yard breathed together, like people after a storm when the last thunder has rolled and the rain is turning to light. The captain set the pen down and placed the talking stick token beside the treaty page. "We sign what we can keep," he said. "Without chains." Pike met Tiva's eyes and nodded once. He turned to the crowd. "No hostages," he said. "No forced disarmament at the gate. Our patrols will ride with theirs to seize the rustler camp and return stolen horses and army stores. Water corridor shared. Wire protected." The preacher raised his hand. "Let the town answer." People spoke in low words, not shouts. "Aye. Yes. Do it." Even those who had wanted locks found they had run out of reasons to keep them. "Bring the ledger," the captain told the clerk. He tapped the scraped line. "This missing wagon will be accounted for. Today." 2 soldiers led the roof shooter across the yard. The cook set the rifle by the table. Hale tried to keep his face. "I am quartermaster," he said. I prepared for unrest. You paid for it, Clara answered. She held the nippers high. Sun ran along the jaws like a small blade. You cut our voice. The captain gave orders, guards at the sheds, inventory every crate, count every spur. If any brand lies, we will read it out loud, he signed. Pike signed beneath. He handed the pen to Tiva. Tiva looked at his son, then at the white knot beyond the fence. We will keep these words in daylight, he said. He made his mark neatly and carefully. Clara added her witness line, Clara Vale, Bell. Her hand shook, then steadied. It did not feel like magic. It felt like work. People breathed easier because the work was not hidden. Hale pulled once against the soldier's hand. This town will regret trusting her, he said, tipping his chin toward Clara. We were small when you kept fear, May replied. She folded the tarp and tied it with twine. The captain ordered Hale to the guardhouse. As they led him off, the ranch hand who had lied in Darrow's time stepped forward, hat in both hands. I'll speak before the council, he said. I will point to the camp and tell where we left the masks. His voice shook but did not break. Pike looked at Clara. The boy stays with his father, he said. That is the first kept word. Good, Clara said. The rope remembers. Nokoni tried to rise. Clara touched his shoulder. You sit, she said. Let your breath do the standing. He smiled and obeyed. Orders spread. A joint patrol would ride at dusk. 3 soldiers, 3 riders from Tiva's band, and 2 townsmen who knew the draws. Eli volunteered. May sent one of her girls with bandages. The preacher would keep the bell key and wait for signals. Clara walked the fence, speaking small things that oil big hinges. Bring spare canteens. Carry a rope. Leave pride. She checked the north ladder. The crate still sat, empty now, a tooth pulled. Lies leave splinters. The captain closed the treaty folder. If anyone breaks this in secret, he said, we will fix it in public. He looked at Pike and then at Tiva. We ride together until the camp is taken. Truth travels better with company, the preacher said. He tucked the ledger line into his coat. Afternoon rounded hard faces. Children brought Nokoni water and shy questions. He showed them his 3-finger sign and grinned when they copied it. Clara fetched a strip of cloth. She retied Tiva's bandage. You turned a shot from a man who doubted you, she said. He doubts less now, Tiva answered. Doubt is a shadow. Sun shortens it, the wire hummed as a message passed. Clara glanced up, grateful for the sound, but more grateful that the town had learned not to wait on it. At the cart, May found a second small crate wedged between feed sacks. She opened it and lifted out forged spur arms, rawhide masks, and 3 red scarves. She set them on the table. No more props for fear, she said. Pike watched the crowd gather around the proof. I was wrong, he said to Clara. I thought locks were stronger than light. Locks can be turned, Clara said. Light asks to be let in. A runner came from the east with news, smoke from a draw where no one lived. The captain pointed. That is where we ride. Clara eyed the white knot. It lifted once in the breeze and settled. Go, she told the patrol. Bring back what was stolen. Bring back truth with it. They mounted. Wheels creaked. Hooves thudded. The yard thinned to ordinary again, but it felt wider. Clara sat on the school step and wrote 1 line for the children to copy tomorrow. A promise is a road we walk in daylight. Dusk settled with a copper edge. The joint patrol rode out. 3 soldiers in blue, 3 of Tiva's riders, Eli with a coil of rope, and 1 quiet townsman who knew every wash by smell. The preacher stood by the bell with the key in his palm. Clara watched them shrink along the creek line until horse and rider became one brush-colored shape. She felt the pull of worry and let it trail behind them like dust. In the yard, Pike organized a small guard to keep order and to hold Hale in the guardhouse. The cook brought bowls and spoke kindly to anyone whose hands shook. Children drifted toward Nokoni. He sat straighter, the surgeon's bandage clean, his breath slow. He taught the 3-finger sign to Ruth and Jonas, and Lila. They copied it and giggled, not from mockery, but from relief that a boy could sit and teach again. The captain began an inventory with the clerk, reading crate stencils out loud so the crowd could hear. Cartridges 50 count, lantern oil 2 tins, blankets 6. Clara stood nearby, checking numbers with her eye the way she checked sums on a slate. She did not interrupt. When voices are public, truth can walk on its own feet. Night thickened. A long quiet lay over the road like a held breath. Then, far off, a small flash, no sound, just a wink. The preacher blinked back a prayer. "Signal," he said. "They are near the draw." Clara carried a lantern to the gate and set it waist-high so the first returning horse would see the town before faces. She spoke to the gate guard in simple lines. "When they come, open slowly." No cheering. "Let the proof speak," the wire hummed. A short message came through. "Contact. Camp abandoned. Crates found." Clara nodded at nothing and everything. The captain read the strip, then raised his head. "They have them," he said. "Some at least." Hooves sounded at last. The patrol returned in a stagger. 2 riders leading a wagon lashed with rope, 1 soldier with a torn sleeve, Eli with dust up to his teeth, Tiva's riders steady and tired. The wagon groaned under the weight. The captain met it at the mouth of the yard. They lowered a crate stamped with the cavalry mark. Another with ammunition stenciled in black. A third with spur arms and scarf bundles. The quiet townsman held up a ledger page taken from a camp box. The numbers matched Hale's missing lines. The cook planted her hands on her hips and shook her head, a woman who had seen too much dirt washed in clean water to be fooled by new mud. Pike faced Tiva. "Thank you," he said. Not stiff, not grudging, simply said. "You kept pace with us in the dark," Tiva answered. "The dark is where thieves like to run. We do not run." Eli leaned on the wagon and grinned at Clara. "We walked the story back," he said. "Found the rifle wraps on the same roof cloth." He spat dust. Men scatter when their lies can't find shade. Clara checked the crate numbers while the captain wrote receipts. One label snagged her eye. Cartridges, drill wagon 3 of 4. She read it twice. 3 of 4. She glanced at the stacked boxes on the table. 1, 2, 3. Her mouth thinned. The ledger line she had seen was for 1 wagon. The crate's stencil spoke of 4. She filed the thought like a thorn she would remove in morning light. Nokoni lifted a hand to his father. Tiva touched his son's cheek and let a small smile crease his stern face. The surgeon redressed the graze on Tiva's shoulder and nodded. "You will carry water by sunrise," he said. "But do not lift foolish pride." Pike ordered the roof shooter to point out his paymaster's marks. The man named Hale again and again, then named a ranch foreman to the east who had moved goods and talk. The captain wrote the name down and passed it to the preacher. "Witness," he said. The preacher tucked it in his coat. May brought bread to the patrol and poured water as if it were a blessing. She pressed a cup into Clara's hands. "You kept the rope still until it mattered," she said. "That is a kind of strength people forget to thank." Clara shook her head. "The bell only gathers. People must choose." She looked at Pike, who stood a little out of himself as if a shell had cracked and he was listening with new ears. "Tomorrow," she said to him, "the children will copy a new line. Truth in daylight or not at all. Add a second," he said quietly. "And when it hides, we go and find it." The guardhouse door shut on Hale for the night. The captain placed 2 men outside and 1 inside. "If anyone asks," he told the clerk loud enough for the street to hear, "we arrested the quartermaster for theft and conspiracy, and we did it because the town stood in the light." The sentence went down into people like warm food. Stars came clear. The white knot moved once and then held fast. The wire clicked with a brief reply from the next post. "Acknowledged. Hold terms. Proceed." Clara penned the words on a strip for the book. "Tape it," she told Jonas. "We keep our memory where eyes can touch it." When the last crate was counted, the yard eased into a careful quiet. Fathers led sleepy children home. Women stacked bowls. The cook banked the fire. Pike posted a gentler watch. Tiva's riders camped just outside the gate in a small ring, backs to one another, faces turned outward without weapons, as they had promised. Clara sat on the school steps and watched the patrol's dust settle to earth. She felt the shape of tomorrow rising. Council business, fence mending, names to read, and one question to hold like a coal until it showed its color. If one wagon out of 4 was found, where were the others? She had not spoken it yet. Words should be said when all can hear. The bell above her mouth slept easily, the white knot bright even in starlight. Peace for this hour held. Work for the morning waited with its sleeves rolled. Morning came plain and bright. People gathered without orders, as if the bell had rung inside them. The captain set the treaty table in the fort yard again. The preacher stood where all could see. Pike checked the gate with a calmer face. The white knot on the school bell rope gleamed. Clara carried ledger strips, the talking stick token, and a slate for new lines the children would copy. The captain opened the folder. "We signed yesterday," he said. "Now we keep." He read the terms again, slow and public. Safe passage, returned horses, shared watch on the wire, water corridor open to both. He added what Daylight had written: no hostages, no forced disarming, joint patrols. Then he lifted his eyes. "If any man breaks this in secret, we mend it in the open." Tiva signed a second witness line. "We will walk these words," he said. "Our riders travel unpainted." He smiled at Noconi, who sat in a chair. Clara faced the children at the fence. "New class oath," she said. She wrote on the slate, "Truth in daylight or not at all." The children spoke it back, small and sure. She added a second line the town could use. "And when it hides, we go and find it." A runner brought camp papers. The captain spread them flat. Numbers and brands filled the sheets. Clara matched them against Hale's books. A pattern stepped forward. 4 ammo wagons listed, 1 receipt scratched, 2 crates captured, loose boxes logged. "This says 4, she told the captain. "Yesterday we saw 3 crates and 1 wagon. Where is the rest?" The yard quieted. Pike leaned in. 3 of 4, he read from a stenciled lid. He rubbed the letters with his thumb. "Hale did not steal alone." Clara placed the token on the table. "Say it where all can hear," she said. The captain did. He read the stencil lines and ledger marks aloud, then faced the town. "Ammunition is missing," he said. "Marked for drill, likely sold. Someone outside the fort has army rounds." Murmurs moved through the crowd. The preacher wrote the crate numbers and pinned them to the fence. "We remember together," he said. Clara rang the handbell and held lessons on the steps so no one had to choose between learning and listening. She showed the knot and told what it meant. A memory you can touch. Ruth counted strokes. Jonas traced letters on cedar. Lila drew 3 broken arrows tied with white. By noon, the joint patrol washed, ate, and rode out again with a guide to the east road. Pike went with them to witness. He tipped his hat to Clara. "Locks can be turned," he said. "Keep the bell ready." "I always do," she answered. Afternoon work felt lighter even with fear beside it. Barrels were patched, posts reset. Men checked Clara's splice. The wire clicked with ordinary traffic. Weather, a price for corn, a tired joke. In the cool of the evening, the council met in the open square. Women spread blankets. The cook poured coffee. The captain spoke about the day's news, then asked if any to add. Eli drew the rustler camp in words. May held a torn scarf. "Fear likes costumes," she said. "We burned these." Clara stood last. She held a ledger strip and a crate, rubbing. "Peace is not soft," she said. "It is rope. We will keep our knot tied. If another wagon of cartridges comes under false names, we will ring before it reaches our street." Tiva lifted both hands so all could see them empty. "We will camp by the creek until the patrol returns," he said. "We will mend fences with you in morning light." The council ended with work assignments. People left in pairs, tired and steadier. Clara washed cups and set the slate on the desk. She placed the feather beside the token and shut the drawer softly. Night drew in with a lantern's calm. Noconi slept under a sheet. The wire hummed a short line and rested. The bell rope hung easily, white knot bright. Clara sat on the step and looked down the road to where dust would rise when the patrol returned. She felt the quiet like a promise to keep trying. She whispered for herself and for the town. Truth in daylight, or not at all. Then she added the new line the children liked. And when it hides, we go and find it. Far out, something flashed and went dark, maybe a patrol signal, heat lightning. The shape of tomorrow gathered at the edge of sight, a missing wagon, a longer trail, more hands to count. Peace was on paper now. It walked on its feet, and if ink hid bullets, the bell would ring again. The town listened together.